Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Alan Osborne. I'm the Chief Business Development Officer with Family Source Consultants. And I'm here today with three of my wonderful colleagues, Melissa, Tara, and Joy. And we're here to just kind of talk about, a typical surrogacy journey with Family Source Consultants for intended parents. A typical journey is very emotional, financial, and a huge time commitment for intended parents. So we just kind of want to walk you through what a journey entails when you work with Family Source Consultants. And I'm going to introduce you to some key members of our team here. And so you can learn how, their unique role helps support intended parents as they navigate through all of these, checkpoints that are, big landmarks on your path to becoming a parent. So, first, let me just kind of introduce everyone. I want to introduce you to Melissa Kieffer. She's a client relations manager with us. And also Tara Kustra, who's in admissions and match manager with us. And Joy Rejholec, who is our director of client relations. So I'm just going to kind of walk you through what kind of happens by asking them some questions, having them kind of define what they do for us. And hopefully we can get this done in under a half an hour, and this will be a valuable tool for you if you decide to work with us, or just maybe if you're looking to work with any sort of agency, just kind of let you know how we do things. So, Melissa, how are you?
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here, an honor. Thank you so much for hosting this, Alan.
Oh, you're very welcome. So let's kind of start from the very beginning. How are parents, intended parents, finding FSC?
So I think the bulk of our parents come from three avenues. I would say the first is from their own fertility clinic, which we, over the 15 years, have established strong connections all over the country with fabulous clinics, really in every state. And so I think the number one area we find parents coming to us from would be from their own doctor, which of course is your trusted source. So we are grateful for those connections. Secondly, we're seeing a really big rise in social media groups. So whether that be Facebook groups, TikTok, which I'm not on, I guess my kids are slowly teaching me about that, and certainly Instagram as well. I think businesses are driving towards a social media platform. So certainly we're seeing some leads and parents come to us through those avenues. And then thirdly, I think is just their own internet research. Obviously, with the internet available to all of us as a research tool, from, you stub your finger and you think it's broken to something as robust and serious as surrogacy. I think we're seeing parents come to us just from a traditional Google search. Our Google reviews and Google ratings are so high, which is amazing. And we are, appreciative of all of our parents that have gone out there and written reviews about working with us. That's a great sort of comforting point for these parents. We tend to have people just come through general Google researching. So I would say those three areas. Certainly referrals from friends are occasional, but those three would be our biggest.
Great. Yeah. So, they find FSC, they're interested in learning about our surrogacy programs. How do we get them more information on everything that we do?
Sure. So I think the easiest thing and what's probably most available to everyone is hop on our website, FamilySourceConsultants.com. So hop on our website. There are not only a way to get in touch with us to set up a meeting, but it's a wealth of knowledge and information there that's available to parents, whether, like you said, Alan, whether we are the right fit or they're just getting general information, whatever it happens to be. So hop on our website. Secondly, just place a call into our Illinois headquarters office, and our staff will get you to myself or someone on my team to do an initial meeting. Or certainly you can email any of the panelists you see today. I'm sure as joining the webinar, you'll have our information. So feel free to send an email to any of us, and we'll take care of you from there.
Cool. Yeah. So they reach out to us. What's the next step? Is it we set up a consultation to kind of go over stuff with them?
Absolutely. So we'll have a consultation free of charge. I get that question sometimes. Complimentary consultation. We'll do that on Zoom primarily. That's our typical focus. It just gives us an opportunity to meet face to face, just ultimately learn a little bit more about you as the parent and your journey. We'll talk about what do you do for work, where do you live, what are your hobbies, just to get to know you as an individual, and then certainly get into the surrogacy piece of what brought you to this journey or excuse me, to this point in the journey, and how can we support you? So typically our preference is always to do that over Zoom. Plan for about 45 minutes to an hour phone call, or excuse me, Zoom call. And certainly if Zoom is not an option for you based on whatever the case might be, we can do a phone call, but preference is typically Zoom.
Yeah, and I think, if you're nearby, one of our client relations managers or in the Chicago area, we can certainly meet you in person as well. We have a couple offices in Chicagoland. We have one in Miami. We have one in Southern California as well. So that's always an option too, if you'd rather meet face to face. For this consultation, are both partners needed to be there?
Yes, please. Yes, please. Yes, yes, yes. So I think anytime you make a big decision like this, it's important to have everyone involved that is a part of that decision. So whether it's your partner, whether it's a spouse, whether it's a trusted best friend, maybe a parent that's advising, whoever it happens to be that's important in this decision. But specifically, yes, your partner would be appreciated. As Alan mentioned, I always think of surrogacy as a three-part decision. This is a financial decision, of course. It's a large financial decision. It's a physical decision. Some of our parents have had to go through a lot with their body to get to this point, whether that be medications or previous pregnancies or egg retrievals. There's a lot going on physically. And then emotionally, this is a huge emotional journey. None of us are growing up with this idea of, I can't wait to grow my family with a surrogate. It's just not the case, because it's a unique scenario and not everyone on your street is doing it. And so I think to have those three pieces of this puzzle there, it allows us in our consultation to go through all three of those pieces and acknowledge all three of those pieces and have your partner there to help make that final decision. What I wouldn't want to have happen is go through an hour call and then you have to train your partner on everything I talked about. I don't expect you to be experts in this. This is what we do every day. This is our world. So by all means, if your partner or trusted advisor person is available, please do have everyone there at the call.
Great. Yeah. So yeah, you set up this consultation, either, over Zoom or in phone. What, as an intended parent, would I need to prepare for that? What kind of information are you going to be gathering?
So you don't need to prepare anything. Just come, be ready to learn, be ready to share, if you will. And it's our job to walk you through everything. So no need to prepare at all. The types of things that we're going to ask and talk about will be information that you're aware of. And so nothing that you truly have to prepare for. But some of the things that I'll ask are, do you have a fertility clinic yet that is involved in this process? You will need to pick out a medical doctor to manage the medical procedures of this process. And so if you have a fertility clinic already, you'll share that with us. If not, we're happy to suggest certainly trusted ones in your area. I'll ask you things about your embryos if you have them created. Some people don't know what an embryo is, and that's totally fine too. So there'll be a lot of education on the call. One of the best questions to ask, which we get a smile out of every time, is, are you planning on having one baby or twins? Or did you even know that was an option? And so we'll talk through that and get your opinion on that. We'll talk about geography. Geography for surrogates is a pretty hot topic. So where can she live? Where are you comfortable with her living? And we'll talk about the pros and cons of various areas in the country and what that means to you in your journey. We'll talk about the relationship. What do you envision your relationship being like with this surrogate during the pregnancy? Is texting and FaceTime appropriate for you? Or is this somebody you want to see frequently in person throughout the journey? And all the answers are okay. There are no right and wrong. This is your journey. It should be exactly how you want it to be, and we will cater towards that. The last couple of questions are more about your stance on areas. So we'll talk about your stance on the COVID vaccine. Would you like her vaccinated or not? Again, both are okay, just wanting to know your personal preference. And then lastly, we'll also talk about your position on termination. So as we match you with surrogates, we want to make sure that you are matched with someone who is like-minded. We want the journey, you're going to be on this team together. for, 12 to 18 months. And so we want the team to all get along and mesh well and be a well-matched team. So we want your teammates to feel the same as you. And so we'll make sure to ask some of those maybe more sensitive topics, but these are all important things to ensure that the journey is smooth and well thought out. So those are some of the questions we'll talk about. Of course, I'll open it up to you to ask any questions you want. We'll certainly talk about the financial piece as well. And ultimately, my goal is to make sure at the end of our call that all your questions are answered and that you don't hang up with things hanging out there that you didn't ask or didn't feel comfortable asking or that I didn't share. So ultimately, that kind of gives you an idea of what we'll go over. Certainly, we'll talk about the company and specifics and history as well. But hopefully that gives you an idea of what to expect.
Yeah. So, I mean, it sounds like we're going to learn about you and what got you here. We're going to learn about FSC, our ethos, what we're all about. And then we're going to try to find out what you're looking for in a gestational carrier, kind of like the basic, big questions, right? And then I assume, we get into what this costs, right? So
Right.
how many surrogacy packages does FSC offer currently?
Sure. So I always tell the parents it's not the most fun piece of the conversation because it is, it can be sensitive to talk about finances. But FSC has 3 packages that we offer. We'll talk about all 3 of them. The prices for those 3 are pretty comparable. It's more about how you like the journey structured, and everybody feels differently about that with their finances. So we'll talk through all 3 options. And most likely, one will be a standout fit for you, and we'll identify that pretty early on.
Cool. All right. So I've chosen a package. I want to work with Melissa and with FSC. What are the next steps I have to take? What do I do next? I say, yes, let's do this. What's next?
Yeah, absolutely. So a simple email or phone call is all you have to do to place back to me or to whoever on my team that you're working with. Let us know that you'd like to move forward and which package is the right fit for you. We will send you an agreement with your names typed in. It'll go through our electronic portal, which is called HelloSign. So you'll get that through email. Each intended parent will sign that individually, whether it's a single parent or there's a pair, they'll both want to sign that individually. And then it comes back to us. We ask for the first retainer payment to arrive to our office within 5 days. That just shows your commitment to us and our commitment to you, and that we're going to get that ball rolling right away. So the first step is we will work the very next day. You'll get instructions from me on how to start creating your profile. So we're going to get a professional, beautiful looking profile set up that talks about you and your family and your hobbies and your background and what kind of parent you want to be, all those great things. And we'll get that set up and the ball will get rolling the very next day. So within a few days, we will start working on your match.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Thank you, Melissa, for explaining the first part of a typical FSC journey. So you've learned about our agency, you've learned about surrogacy, pretty much in general. We've learned about you. We've gathered information from you. And I think Melissa then hands you over to our match team. And that's why I'm going to introduce you now to Tara Kustra, who's our admissions and match manager. And I want her to explain what her role does to help you get to that next step of getting you matched with your gestational carrier. How you doing, Tara?
Hi, good. I'm well, thank you. Thanks for having me today. Yeah, so as a match manager, our job is to find you your perfect surrogate match. There's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes for that in our department, but I'm happy to explain more detail in how that works for you.
Cool. Great. So I'm assuming that, Melissa is going to introduce these intended parents over to you or your team. What kind of information are you going to need from them to help get them matched? I know you're going to have this profile of them filled out, but what's the typical kind of information you guys are gathering?
Sure. So typically we like to meet in a Zoom face-to-face as well, just so we get to know you and what you're looking for in a surrogate. And we kind of go over everything that you talked about with Melissa. So we talk about your termination stance, your views on the COVID vaccine. We talk about, your location that you're looking for your surrogate. And then any other sort of specific details that you want her to have or you don't want her to have. We talk about that in our initial meeting. We just make sure that we're all on the same page with all of those different criteria. And then, that's a quick meeting, usually about 20 minutes, just to get to know each other. Once we have all of your criteria confirmed, then we can start going and, looking for a surrogate that matches everything.
Right. And so I assume that you know what clinic that this intended parent is working for. So you're using the information that clinic requires for a gestational carrier, and you're matching it up with what they're looking for and trying to get them matched, right?
Right. So the matching process, a lot of people come in and think that there's a list, all of the parents, all of the surrogates, and we just kind of go in order. But I try to explain to them it's a little different than that. We have what I like to say are 3 buckets of criteria. So we have the intended parents, all of their criteria that they're looking for. We also, as you said, have the clinic's criteria. Each clinic has their own criteria, different numbers of pregnancies that she can have, different numbers of C-sections, the month past her last pregnancy. Each clinic is different on that. Different BMI levels, different ages. So we have to know all of that information as well. So that's the second bucket. And then the third bucket is when the carriers come in and they are approved, they have their own criteria. They might be looking for certain things in parents that they want to work with. So we have to make sure that all 3 of those criteria match up before we can start sharing profiles. So it's not just a list. It's not anything like that. It's almost genuinely on a case-by-case basis.
Gotcha. So it's not like there's, starting to work with you and they're looking through a database of our gestational carriers and just kind of choosing them and seeing if it works out. We're taking the information and we're just kind of trying to match it up through those 3 buckets you kind of said, right? Is there any kind of information that's going to help an intended parent get matched quicker? And how long on average do you think it's taking to get matched? What are some of the big things that help you speed the process up a little bit?
Sure. I would say the more open you are with your criteria, the more quickly you will be matched. Or in the opposite way, we always like to say the more you add to your criteria, the smaller your pool and your buckets are going to be. So, if you're able to be open in location, and if you're able to be open in, insurance requirements, if you're willing to maybe purchase an insurance policy for somebody who doesn't have a surrogate and friendly policy already, that's going to open up your pool and help you get matched more quickly. But typically we say, 3 to 6 months is our average time to see a profile. How our match process works in regards to profiles is we like to share the parent's profile first with the surrogate to see if she's interested in working with the parents. And then if she is, we'll share her profile with the parents to see if they would like to work with her. And then if they both agree to work with each other based off of the profile, we'll set up a match meeting where they get to meet in a Zoom face-to-face. We go over all of their criteria, make sure that everybody's on the same page. They can ask questions, they can have conversation, get to know each other. So you're not picking somebody just based on a profile on a piece of paper. You actually will get to meet them.
Great. Yeah. And so anytime that you do see a profile, that gestational carrier has already agreed to work with you on paper, right?
Right. Correct.
So, okay, great. Let's say this intended parent has been shown a profile by you or someone on your team. What are some of the things that they should look for? Obviously, they have their requirements that they've gone over with Melissa, they've gone over with you in your first meeting, but like now they're seeing a profile. They're probably seeing all sorts of information on this actual individual that they've never seen before. What should they be looking for as far as this is going to be a good fit for them moving forward?
Sure. So in the profile, it lists all of her financial criteria. It also lists information about her past pregnancies and if there was any complications. So you want to look through that stuff to make sure you feel like she would be a good carrier for you. But it also lists certain things as, what her job is, and if she has a spouse, what her spouse's job is. They talk about things that they like to do. They talk about their personalities and what their families are like, what their family life is like. So, you want to look through it and make sure that it kind of is somebody that you would want to work with for at least a whole year. And, somebody who you feel comfortable with carrying your child.
Right. And it's not always probably going to be that perfect person. The next part, I think, would be a match meeting, right? You're going to facilitate a match meeting. Can you talk me through that?
Yeah. So I want me or one of my teammates will be on the match meeting to facilitate. We kind of help you ask questions, help answer the questions that are important going forward, making sure we have we're on the same page with COVID vaccines, and making sure we talk about, what kind of communication you want from your surrogate, how often you would like to communicate with her. We go through a whole list of information and questions to make sure that everybody's agreeing to specific details on the journey. But then I also open it up and I allow, I love when the parents and the surrogate kind of just talk together, because a lot of times they go through and answer all the questions that I always go over anyways, because they're asking it themselves. You get to know each other, you get to, see each other's personality in person. The surrogate, if she has a partner, the partner usually is on the call as well, so you can get to know both of them. Sometimes their kids are on the call just running around in the background, so you'll get to meet their families as well. And it's a good time to see if your personalities will mesh together. And usually by the end of the call, you have a pretty good idea if you want to move forward with that person or not.
Right. And if I'm not mistaken, we have a very, very high success rate for that first match meeting, resulted in people moving forward. Am I accurate in saying that?
Yeah, I would definitely say so. I think, most of the time, 99% of the time, I would say you feel a good match with that person.
Yeah, I mean, it's easier to do things in Zoom, obviously, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you're matched up with someone that doesn't live nearby. But I mean, is it a possibility to do those match meetings in person?
I don't know. I guess if everybody was close and there was a match manager or somebody that also lived in the same area, sure, that could be a possibility.
Okay, cool. All right, cool. So they have gotten their profile kind of based off of the information they provided us. We've shared it with the gestational carrier. They said they'd like to work with this intended parent. We get this match meeting going. Everybody seems to be on board. What's the next steps? They're ready to move forward with each other. What happens next?
Sure. So then the next step is we again send an agreement through HelloSign that the intended parents are agreeing to match with the surrogate. That is when the second matching agency fee would be due as well, within 5 days, just showing us that you are committed to working with the surrogate. Our match team will send the surrogate's medical records to your clinic to make sure that your clinic will review them and, give her a go-ahead to come for the medical screening. Once we have the signed agreement and she's pre-approved by the clinic, then we go ahead and pass you and the surrogate over to our case management team, and they kind of take it from there.
Awesome. What a nice segue into the next team member I'm going to introduce everybody to. Thank you so much, Tara, for explaining your role. And I'd like to introduce Joy. Joy is our Director of Client Relations. Hi, Joy.
Hello. Good morning, everyone.
Yes, and Joy is a former case manager. She's also a former surrogate 2 times. So she's just a wealth of knowledge of everything. But okay, we've gotten through the matching process. We've been matched. We've gotten approved by our clinic, introduced to a case manager. When exactly does that happen? When do they meet?
So after you are matched with Tara's team, with your matching team, you have signed all your documents saying, yes, I want to move forward with this surrogate I met. She's wonderful. We're going to have a great time. Then you get introduced to your case manager. Your case manager, it might be a little redundant, but we're going to go over some information as well. At every stage when you're passed off, we always confirm the information we have to make sure that there will be no hiccups later in life. So in that first meeting with your case manager, we will reach out via email. We will confirm all of the personal details that we have, names, phone numbers, emails, addresses, things like that that are going to be pertinent later in your journey. We'll reach out, we'll introduce ourselves, get that information from you. And then the first step will be starting to talk with your clinic about getting your surrogate screened. So when you come to case management, I always say that our role is to walk you through the entire journey. We are going to hold your hand. Our job is to absorb as much of the stress as possible from the journey. So as you're going along, we will alert you of every step that we have going along the way, because there's 4 major ones. You have the medical screening, you have the legal, you have the embryo transfer, and then you have pregnancy and delivery. So in those 4 major chunks, we are going to alert you of every step that's coming up. Anytime there's a commitment we need from you, we will help walk you through that and make sure you're meeting the deadlines. And then at the same time, we're also doing everything we can with your surrogate. And there are so many aspects of behind the scenes, working with the fertility clinic, getting the appointment scheduled, keeping everyone on track, double checking medication levels, and just really taking all of that off of your plate, absorbing it on our own, and making sure that you can have the best journey possible and worry more about the relationship with your surrogate and the baby to come.
Gotcha. Oh, so great. So like you mentioned these 4 major things. The first one would be the medical clearance. Like how are you helping them with that?
So when you're in matching with Tara's team, we already have your surrogate pre-screened or pre-approved by your clinic. We're not going to match you with someone that your clinic will look at their medical records and say, no, we're not going to work with you, because then that's going to set you back. So we take that pre-approval and we would talk with your fertility center. And what we'll do is we'll send your surrogate for a medical screening appointment. This appointment, most of the time, includes ultrasounds and labs. These are the main characteristics of we want to make sure that you will be medically able to move forward and carry your baby. This sometimes will be done at your clinic. We will help fly her out, get everything done at your clinic, and your doctor will be in charge of those procedures. However, we can also do it local to her. As long as your fertility clinic approves, we would help set up appointments near your surrogate that she could do those ultrasounds and labs, ship the results back to your doctor, and then still have your doctor.
So you would arrange for that travel for her, like everything.
We would do all of it. You are never kept out of the loop. We always confirm every step with the intended parents. We will ask for your approvals. We will let you know what we're doing. We will let you take the reins if that's what you feel more comfortable doing. It's really a fluid process with you and your case manager on how you want the journey to run.
Gotcha. Okay, great. So surrogate has traveled to your doctor, gotten medically cleared. Everything's looking good. I assume around this time, you're going to help the intended parent, find an attorney.
One of the major questions that we always get, we will ask you when you first match with us, do you have a fertility attorney you're going to work with? And the majority of the time, the intended parents say no. That is okay. I'm okay with that. I would almost rather you take our recommendations, because over the last 15 years, we've built up so many wonderful friendships and relationships with attorneys all across the country. We will give you a couple recommendations, and then we almost request that you go and explore. Go to their websites, call them, speak with them, see who you're going to be comfortable with, because the attorney will be yours. Their surrogate will also have her own attorney. So it's not something you have to worry about her. This is an attorney that we want the parents to be comfortable with, because that person is going to be your liaison for the rest of the legal process. They are going to fight in your corner.
Gotcha. Okay. So typically, how long is that going to take for the direct agreement that your attorney drafts between your with the gestational carrier?
We always say about 4 to 8 weeks. I know that sounds like a long time, but the process is a little in depth. Your attorney, the intended parent's attorney, will draft the contract. They have templates, they have standards, they do this all the time. They will draft a basic contract. Then they will meet with you and see how you feel about it. If there's anything else that you have thought of that you want to add into that contract, that's your time to do so. Then we will pass that contract to the surrogate's attorney. The surrogate's attorney will then review the contract on their own, then meet with the surrogate and review together. If there's anything that they have wanted or they don't like or they want to amend, they will make those suggestions and send it back to your attorney. And this process continues a couple times or as many as necessary. And so that's why we do extend that timeline out to 8 weeks, because sometimes there might be a lot of discussion. The attorneys work really well with one another, with you, with the surrogates, and then your case manager can also be involved as a mediator should anything need to be discussed further.
Gotcha. And so that direct agreement is going to need to be finalized before an embryo transfer could take place, correct?
Exactly. We want everyone to be protected and have that legal agreement fully signed on both sides. We will pass that legal clearance, which is just a letter from the attorney saying you are legally cleared to move forward. We will pass that legal clearance onto your fertility center, which is their green light to then schedule the embryo transfer.
Gotcha. Okay. And so I'm assuming during this 4 to 8 weeks, while this, direct agreement's being finalized and executed, insurance and escrow, where the money is going to be for the compensation for the gestational carrier, all this stuff is being handled by you or the case management team, right?
Exactly. Like I said, our job is to take the stresses off of you. So we will send you all of the information you will need at the time that you need it. We will help you get in touch with an escrow company. An escrow company is a third party that holds all of the funds for your journey. We don't want this to be something that is in your bank accounts and difficult to get to. We don't want this something that's paid to the surrogate prior and then she has to return should something not be needed. And we don't want us to hold it because it's not our responsibility. We want you to feel comfortable that your money is protected. So we will help you get in contact with an escrow company. They will manage your funds. They will check every disbursement against your direct agreement or your contract with a surrogate to make sure that your funds are only allocated when they're absolutely necessary. The same thing you mentioned with insurance. Insurance is always a big thing. We won't jump into it here because it is, I could talk for hours and hours about insurance. Mm-hmm. But we do have specialists that we speak with as well. We will get you in contact with them. We will run through the basics so that you're comfortable, but then we pass you over to those experts who can really help you dive in and decide which insurance policies you may need, which are the best, how many insurance policies do you need, because there's medical insurance, there's short-term disability insurance, there's accidental insurance that'll cover you for the transfer itself. There's a plethora that you can go through. And then you kind of cater the insurances and the decisions that you want to your journey and what makes you the most comfortable. But all of that will be handled by your case manager. We will never tell you to go out, okay, it's time for insurance, go get some insurance. Not how we roll. We would always hold your hand, make sure you're contacting the right people. And then if you have any questions, you can ask us. You can ask the experts that we get you in contact with. You can ask us together and we will work together to figure that out for you.
Great. And then, on the flip side, it sounds like you're helping and you're supporting the intended parent as well as you possibly can. That's what you're all about. That's what department's all about. But what about the gestational carrier? Are they being supported through all of this too? Are you personally handling? Is it the same case manager that's supporting them, or are they being supported by somebody else at FSC?
Sure. So each party has their own dedicated case manager. You will have an intended parent case manager who is helping you throughout the entire thing, and they will work in a partnership with the gestational carrier case manager who is going to help the surrogate. This is a dedicated case manager just for you. You're able to reach out with them, but we all are very close knit and we work in collaboration on your journey throughout the entire time.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, everything's moving along. You have escrow in place, insurance in place. You're holding their hand throughout the entire process. I guess the last thing would be like the parentage documents that you're going to need when your child is born. Are you helping the intended parent with that? Is there an attorney? That's kind of the last piece of the puzzle, right?
Exactly. So as we're moving through, we are keeping track of how many weeks pregnant your gestational carrier is. We will update you on any appointments that she's going to. Hopefully, if she's willing to, and you have discussed this prior, we will even share appointments with you. Some of the surrogates and parents want to have a very open relationship and they will do Zooms or send videos of ultrasounds. And some parents and surrogates decide to have a more closed relationship, and that way the case manager can just update you on those appointments. So as you're going through the appointments, you will get updates. And as you're reaching these major milestones, you will also get updates. One of those being when it's time to start the parentage documents. For those of you who don't know, the parentage documents are just something that is set up in place prior to the baby being born so that you as the parents are placed on the birth certificate when the child is born. Just ensures that the surrogate will have no legal link to your child. These are always set up right around 20 weeks, depending on the attorney that you choose. Some like to do it sooner, but the case manager will get you in contact with your attorney at that time. It's not something you need to remember at all. We will reach out. We will tell the attorney, just letting you know, these wonderful intended parents are about 20 weeks gestation. We would like to start the parentage paperwork, please. Your attorney will get in contact with you and take it from there. If they have any questions, they're always willing to reach out to us and gather more information about the journey, should that be needed. But really, it's a journey between you and your attorney at that point to finish the parentage. We'll make sure it gets done in plenty of time before the surrogate is around 32 weeks. And we take it over, we send it to the hospital, make sure your hospital has those documents just in case something should arise at the hospital that they have a question about. They can refer back to everything that's already been sent to them. So really, there's not much you have to do except to answer the phone calls when your attorney says, hey, we need to start this. The case manager will take care of everything else for you.
Awesome. So that's it. I mean, your baby's born, you take them home from the hospital. You know, is the case management team staying with them for a while after the baby's born?
Absolutely. So the number one thing that we want to be around for is the baby being born. That's like our ultimate goal. And that's our big reward, you know, as case management and as a family source agency. So we would request some pictures. We want to know everything that you want to tell us about the birth. And then should you need any help at that time, lean on your case manager. Do you need someone to help you book an Airbnb near your surrogate? We can help you do that. Do you need someone to map it out on MapQuest for you? You know, like we can go old school if you want. We can do everything in that moment because what we want you to be focused on is your baby. We will contact the necessary people at the hospital to make sure that all the billing is correct. We will help you if you're an international parent. We will help you with the birth certificate to expedite that so that you can start talking to the passport advisors and passport authorities to get a passport for your baby so you can go home and start your life. The case manager will stay with you as long as requested, but at minimum, we are with you at least 6 months post-birth to help finalize any of those bills for your surrogate or the baby and make sure that everything is wrapped up in a neat little bow and finalized for you.
Awesome. Well, there you have it. I mean, thank you, Melissa, Tara, and Joy for joining us and explaining this to everyone. I think this has been very helpful. It will be very helpful. You know, just to kind of go through it really quickly, Melissa, you know, she's introducing FSC to you. She's explaining what this is all about. Tara is helping you get matched, and Joy is holding your hand throughout the entire thing. So if you guys have any questions out there in cyber world, you know, please reach out to us. Our email addresses will be on this, or you can go to our website, email info@familysourceconsultants.com. But I'm hopefully you guys found this helpful, and you know, we hope to hear from you down the road. Thank you so much.